the conniving fox working things with power out of fear for Jesus was just trying to remain right and pressing, because he didn't want to lose his power. Even to Jesus even says, you're not going to see me until they say, blessed is the one who comes in the name of God. That leads us to where we're headed in this Lenten season. Over in the distance, we see a cross, we see a parade, and he says, Herod will not hear of him again until they say, blessed is the one that comes in the Lord. So then I started to look at that whole place, and I thought, Jesus gets really mad and says, well, I have to come here, what he just said, because he has to be killed there. Because that's where they kill prophets. Throwing him out of his hometown. Said, here's the border of the town, get out. He says, that's all right. You'll recognize me when I come in, and you hear those words, and I will come home to be a prophet that dies in my hometown again. I've used that before. Sometimes it's hardest to talk to the closest ones, isn't it? It seems like somebody else might say the same thing that I would say, but it makes sense because of the time where the relationship is. Are you with me on that part of it? And so as it starts to come, he's getting kicked out, and he says, I'll be back. I'll be back here. I already know you kill prophets. You took Isaiah and cut him in half with a saw. So I know what you do to prophets here. And he was crying, he was lamenting, because as he looked forward and down into Jerusalem, and he saw that sacred temple, he knew that it would be flattened out. These were the people that were supposed to embrace Jesus. These were some of the people that were the ones called God's chosen people. They were God's, and who was killing them? The chosen people. Because every time he brought peace and reconciliation, healing, and he met the people right where they're at, whether it's the day we heal or not. Amen.
Amen.
Somebody needed to be healed of some infirmity that was keeping them from being in community and keeping them from being in presence of God. And Jesus just took care of it. Jesus healed, got him up to walk. Jesus took those infirmities and said, because in that time an infirmity was a sin. Somebody in the family had sinned. That's why the infirmity was upon this person. Or a demon. Now I want to tell you about that demon thing. You heard people say, it's my own demon that I fight. Only chocolate cake. Ooh, really good chocolate cake. Double chocolate cake with ice. What I'm saying? When I'm saying that does not mean I'm possessed. That just means that I have some things that tempt me. And I've heard people say they're my own demons to fight. I just want to clarify that was not necessarily a satanic demon leading me to chocolate cake. Promise eternity, so what am I worrying about that piece of cake? They wouldn't like the curves, would they? So Jesus cries over the city. He cries and he goes on to say to them, and mind you what he said to them. He was speaking of God in the feminine. When he said, I would be like a hen and gather you unto myself for protection. This is one of the places where you see the feminine brought in part of the Trinity that's in there. So, and Jesus tells that story and says, I would have gathered you up, my friends. You are the history of our faith. And yet you turn to violence rather than hate. They even let a dang warring killer loose and crucify Jesus. I mean, talk about the total rejection in that. It was his people. It'd be like we came here and everybody turned around and looked at the wall. It was tough. And Jesus goes on to say, but I would be like a hen. Now, some of you may know this story. There was a fire out near the hen house and the other barns that were out there. And after the fire was put out, they went in and this little chicken was just fried and laying over the top. And the feathers were all singed off. And so they reached down to pick up the chicken, and when they lift up the chicken, 4 little chicks came out.
Yeah.
True story. Very much like Christ. Christ would lay down and die for us. That when Christ is resurrected, we're little chicks running on. such a good story. I've heard it before and I really liked it. So in the first week of Lent, we're talking about temptations and testing. You know, something to test. I'll just confess. I decided for Lent this year, I was going to take a look at my finances and I was going to pay as much as I could to try to get to June 30th and have all my medical bills paid off and the tires and stuff. So I get temptations when there's sales if I go to the stores. You wouldn't believe me. Here I'm talking to myself, walking around and go, look, they got these pants marked 50%. Ooh, I like those. Then I went over it and they had another pair and I thought, well, that's pretty good because my pockets stick out on these pants and my belly. So I'll get these ones. And I thought, well, I have to have a new shirt. Then I found a vest. And I thought, oh, I can wear a vest. I went through Kmart all the way. Had the shoes, had the pants, had the top, had a vest. And I thought, and how are you going to keep up with your stuff? So I had to go put it all back. So here I am rolling around in Kmart, putting everything back. Reach just says stick it on the shelf, but I feel guilty. So I had to put, oh, you don't need it. Then I went back and by the time I went to get my medicine, all I had was an empty card. So I have temptations and tests. Something that might lift my spirits, maybe. Maybe a new outfit would lift my spirits, but I don't have a budget for a new outfit right now. So that is my Lenten journey. Now, on top of that, fear. Fear can come into our walking. Probably if I named you the biggest fear that I have right now is getting sick again, because they don't know what happened. You know, that stays and nags on me. You know, sometimes when I have some of those feelings where I'm lightheaded and I'm not making a lot of sense, I go, uh-oh. You know, and so that sits there and it just boils. And I think, you know, probably the Lenten journey is to get that out of there so I don't have that fear about it. Not that it would take away the caution things I need to do, but that I would be wiser about what I do and quit trying to say my body can handle anything. Have you all ever done that? Have you ever sat with your body and say, you should do something you absolutely cannot do? What is that about? I'll climb that rock wall. Have we forgotten how hard the ground is? And he goes, oh, maybe I could get you to tie my shoes. So I go down on one hand, I get it, I think, what am I going to do when I can't get down on the floor? She's going to be laying in that wheelchair trying to put her shoes up tight every time. So there are some fragments of things. There are some things that changes. We cannot do what we used to do. Really, we can't, and we have some really big challenges physically for people, surgically with people, relational with people, money with people. Certainly we have those entities that are in there, but we're called not to serve them. We're called to recognize them and then take the God-given power to say, get behind me, Satan. I'm going to walk through this temptation.
Amen.
I'm going to enjoy every place I go, getting these back up. You know, there was a little bit of, not false pride, that I didn't push the boundary. Because I would have had to gone home and say, 1 week and what you did. So, in some way, I hope we choose a world to live in peace and reconciliation rather than wars. Wars and fights between our friends and dissension in families and all the things Jesus brought into our midst, healing. And we stand at this place to say, which will I choose? Will I choose the gentle healer, or will I see fighting everything is what I need to do? I pray for you this next week. I should pray for me, because there's some big steps coming up. But her sister's going home. She needs a little prayer. She's got kids that she wants to reconcile with. I want to keep her. Are we glad? Somehow she picked us out.
Yeah.
I mean, look how good God is.
Amen.
God said, you come here in this community, it's going to support you all the way through the time, and when you go home. And we hope to see you.
Amen.
This is home. You came home. All of you guys did. Well, praise God, and I thank God that we were chosen to do that as a ministry, and we continue to do that. So may the peace that passes all. Stand sentinel. We'll do that later. But it is the reconciliation and the peace, and I want to make that choice today. and make sure that I'm choosing peaceful things this week. And I'll enjoy walking with you. And all God's people said,
Amen.